Good morning and welcome to Smart IoT London 2018. Thank you for supporting us in whichever format you've come, as an exhibitor, as a speaker, as a visitor. We welcome you all and look forward to a 2-day successful and exciting event. We have 2 days packed with great speakers, great content, many solution providers to meet with and lots of contacts to be made. Please take the time to ask questions. Thank you very much to our exhibitors and sponsors, particularly Siemens, our Keynote partner. I'm making this brief to hand over to Henrik, who I know you've come to listen to rather than myself. Henrik's been a key contributor to the digital agenda and Industry 4.0, as well as being a key member of the board of patrons for Smart IoT London, the steering committee. So please join me in welcoming Henrik and enjoy the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. Let me just ask you first, can you hear me loud and clear? How many of you know the fourth industrial revolution? How many of you know IoT? I presume everybody. Good. The presentation I'm doing is for you today. I have nothing to sell to you. No software, no services, nothing. So it's purely educational for you, and I will take it in at 3 levels. One level, I will go through what is the Industry 4.0, which impact will it have? So a little bit about where did it came from. Then I will go a little bit over saying which impact will it have on business strategy and business operations, and how can you apply it in your daily life. And the fourth industrial revolution is by design changing everything in your life, in your business life, economy, how you interact, how you connect, everything in the industries. And this is not only a small change, this is a major change. And it's happening faster than ever before. Normally change is something that we can adapt to. But this change is happening exponentially fast. So I don't think I have to tell a lot about myself, but what I wanted to tell a little bit about myself before I go into the details, and I want to make this personally, because everybody of you who sit here, you have ambition, you have dreams. When I was 12 years old, I was in a very difficult space in my life. I was stuttering, I was dyslexic, and they took me out of a normal school into a school with special children, with handicaps, and I really felt out of the space. I was about losing myself. I had a teacher who invested in me. He said, Henrik, we can solve you dyslexic. We can help you stop stuttering. And he used a whole year on me to do that. The conclusion after 1 year is that I came into a normal school, and when he left me over, he said, Henrik, there's nothing wrong with you. You just think differently. So the reasons why I'm telling that story at the very beginning, and I know it's very touching for me. Somebody put their efforts and faith in me. With everything which is happening now, the Industry 4.0 is not about technology. It's about people and how people connect and how people work together. It's about helping each other be successful in where we are. Of course there's competition, of course it's innovation, of course it's transformation, of course it's about productivity, automation, and all these aspects. But at the core of it, it's about human beings, how we interact with each other. So select the person that you can do a difference in and make a difference. That's my personal goal. The four phases of the industrial revolution, it actually started here in the UK. So the first industrial revolution, where water and steam enabled the production of textile, started here in the UK in the 1800s. And it just kick-started the whole aspect of about how the European trading aspect went. It changed the trades agreement between the kingdoms at that time. The next industrial revolution started in the US, and that's where the electronics came in to it. The power plants, electronics were created, and how you do a mass production in an assembly line. First started with butchering, assembly line, meat production, and then into food production, into the Ford automobile. You know, this changed how we set up and produce today. That went further into shipyards, metal production, everything else. Once this started, it changed everything. But the innovation was linear. Everything could be adapted to it step by step. It was very industry specific and very slowly going from one industry to the next industry. The third industrial revolution is about digitalization. And the fourth about cyber-physical interconnection. I will go through each of them a little bit more in details. In the 1917, the internet started, and with each of them, there came social media, mobile, cloud, and big data. This is what you today called IoT, Internet of Things. This is the third industrial revolution. This has already happened. It's the connection of things. It's the smart element. When you have your phone, you can see how things are interconnected together. But this had an exponential growth towards it. And this was beyond industry, not in one industry. It covered all industries. In 2009, when I was young and I needed the money, I did the German strategy with Henrik Kagermann and Professor Scheel. Henrik Kagermann is the co-founder of SAP. Professor Scheel is the father of our process thinking today. And we did the German strategy, and so we called it the digital agenda. And the European Union jumped onto the boat and called it the Digital Agenda 2020. And everybody declared it a big success, and every country in Europe suddenly agreed on the digital agenda. But we were sitting a half year later and we realized, oops, there's something happening that hasn't happened before, and it's happening at a pace that nobody can control right now. So we announced in 2011 the fourth industrial revolution at the CeBIT. The fourth industrial revolution, so when you see the Internet of Things at the World Economic Forum in 2012, IBM came and said, you know what, we call this the digital agenda. And they said, you know what, we have been investing so much money in the IoT and Internet of Things, couldn't we just call it like this? And as the World Economic Forum is a paid forum, so of course we do that. So the Internet of Things is actually the origin of the fourth industrial revolution because it's continuous out. It's not closed down, it's still there. It's the interconnection of things. So these are 17 pillars that are very, very strong. Each pillar interconnects all industries and they interconnect towards each other. So for example, how many of you have heard about artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is entering in the leading companies, the boardrooms. In the other companies, it's going into the architecture. But this is the key differentiator because it's algorithms and how you manage it. How many of you have a Netflix? How many movies do you think some pushed forward to you based on artificial intelligence? All of them? Yeah. 4 out of 5 movies are pushed to you based on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence are entering the business world really, really fast. I personally have an artificial intelligence trading company. We have over 400 accounts, 5 employees. They're all architects. None of them are traders because it's done without human interaction. So these things are coming very, very fast. When you look on blockchain, most people will go down the road and say, well, blockchain is all focusing on cryptocurrency. It's not. Blockchain holds the promise for smart contracting for all industries. It will change the way we trade with each other. blockchain, the technology by itself, holds the promise on cybersecurity. Of all these elements, the weakest link of all, what do you think is the weakest link of all? Just take a guess. Cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity is the weakest link of all because it's catching up on what is already there. You constantly have to be one step ahead of the hackers. The promise of blockchain holds that your phones has 32 bits. In reality, it has 67 bits, and it only works on 32 bits. Everybody of you can produce a code all the time and could hop from each other, and you have a secure line. So each of these elements are entering every industry, every aspect of it. And it holds the aspects of smart business, smart economies, smart cities, and so on. But here's the challenge, and this is for you. It will have an influence on the business model, on the operating model, the strategies you do, how you compete, and what you will do. For the UK, before the Brexit, I've done for 16 countries the national strategy. The UK is the last one. This is the biggest marketing stuff I've ever done. No money put towards it, all nice words, no ideas. The UK holds the promise to be the leader. Why? You have the Commonwealth. You are by design. You are a mix between the French and the German and the Nordic people. You are proactive, you are engineers, and you do what you say. This is a really, really good aspect. You can rape and plunder the trade agreements in the European Union for years to come if you're really smart about it. You really have the ability to really capture the market if you're really smart about it. So these are the 6 aspects that will change the next 2 years, the aspects in the UK. And they're coming independent of what? So the first one, there will be an unparalleled growth. If you look in manufacturing, if you look in logistics, shipyards, all these aspects where the UK is competing head on head. Either you go one step ahead because the promise of the Industry 4.0 aspects say you can connect things together that weren't there. You can go from one industry to compete with another industry with the same competences. You have the ability to really go in and disrupt the growth. The next aspect is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, if you have a lot of data scientists who look at patterns and who do sentence analysis, use an architectural design differently. If we design our architecture differently, everything you hear about cloud is right. Everything you hear about big data is right. But they are Siamese twins. They're not even connected. They don't even talk together. Then we build business intelligence. Then we build all these aspects with things that should be connected, that are disconnected. Architectures today in businesses are by design siloed, crippled, and handicapped. Sorry for using my very strong language. But in reality, a business architect cannot talk to a business process person. A business process person cannot measure the KPIs, the critical success factors, the executive dashboards. All of this is everywhere and nowhere. Meaning that the ability to actually say, good, let's have an architecture that's based on semantics and ontology. Let's have the algorithms of the workflow, service flows, business flows all connecting together. You have the ability, when you look at the company, 80% of a company is non-core. 80% is non-core. You're not competing within it. That means you need to have a high level of maturity, high level of automation, a high level of optimization, a high level of integration, and a high level of alignment. 15% of the company is industry specific, where you compete with your competitor head on head. So an English manufacturer would compete with either an English or an international competitor. So 15% of that, they have to be minimum as good as the competition. Minimum as good as they are. And that's why they use algorithms, better operations. 5% of the company is core differentiating. 5%. Only 5%. This is where you deliver the value and the service. This is where you get the higher price. This is where the core differentiating always comes up. You compete with somebody, but they don't know what you compete with. So the next aspect, it unleashes a new area of business models and service models. So the disciplines of modeling, executive modeling, and saying, you know what, I have 6 business models. Nobody of you learns that in school. This is a discipline that has merged the last 5 years. And you don't learn it in school. So there's a service model, cost model, revenue model, operating model, performance model, and value models. And they connect together. So if I want to have a high growth, I'll focus on my value model, my service model, and then my performance model. When I want to have a cost cutting, then I focus on my operating model and my cost model. When I want to have an operational excellence model, then I focus on my operating model, my performance model, and then my cost model. So these are aspects. It's like a business model where you change the different aspects on how you want to react. So I will come to that a little bit later, the rise of a new operational excellence aspects, how you need to think about that, and the security about blockchain, I mentioned that. This is for you. I'm just going one step a little bit further. This is for you. Take a picture. You will not see it anywhere else. I use a lot of time with executives to go this through. This is really, really difficult to understand, but it's actually quite easy. Everything you do from here to here is transformation. Everything you do from here to here is innovation. So the mix between innovation and transformation, innovation is something that you create from new. It does not exist in your company. You add a new competence, you add a new software solution, you add new services. Everything which you transform already exists. That means you transform it from state A to state B. That means everything within your performance model, cost model, and operating model, you can transform. Everything within your value model, revenue model, and service model, you have to innovate. These are hardwired principles that haven't changed. But somehow everybody reinvents the wheel like they're new things you have to do. They're old stuff, really. The same aspect is from hyper-competition, comparative competitiveness, and competitive advantage. When you talk about the IoT is at the slope way over here because you actually have here, you have a high performance curve on cloud, big data, interconnectivity over here. So this is, the IoT is focusing on operating model and cost model and will probably help you to perform, but it will not give you the kick-ass on your value model, revenue model, or service model. And this is then the expected growth. So when you go for growth, everything here, you support everything which is 70% of the company. Everything here, you support everything which is 15% of the company. Industry competition. Here the competitors are moving and you are moving the same way. Here you are totally alone. You are the first mover because you are focusing on your core differentiating aspects to it. And this is one of the closing slides because then you can have questions. This is the next level of operating model. Operational excellence, productivity, and so on. It looks complex, it's not very complex. But it's a new discipline because normally the discipline of an operating model is that you focus on everything which is simple, everything which is strategic and tactical. But with all these elements connecting together, the aspect of complexity and unique operations needs to be defined very clearly. That means you are suddenly taking the kitchen board and saying, oh, sorry, this is the fish, this is the meat, this is my vegetables, and I'm not cutting them on the same plate. You need to treat each of them differently because they have different needs. It's like children. Everything which is unique needs to be focused on value because it delivers value. And hence you need to focus on innovation aspects, effectiveness, and alignment. Everything which is complex needs to focus on performance. Because complex is where you say, well, I have simple, complex, complicated, and chaotic. And say, chaotic I cannot move to because I cannot view it. Complicated is difficult for me, but complex I can manage because complexity resides within my operating model. Does that make sense? Good. Here's a key for you to manage it. You've all learned it in school, but you have not applied the same discipline. I meet executives all the time, and I go back to the very, very basics. They've been to business schools. I said, you've learned about value chain, you'll learn about business models, and you'll learn about operating model. And you don't use the same things. They manage their business in project management skills. Projects. They have no overview of everything. In the value chain, you view your core aspects of the business. What are the drivers? What are the forces that are pushing it? And how is your value chain producing revenue, income, outcome? What is my spendings? What is my service? What is my value model? You see all your elements into a business model is the same aspect of a value chain, just looked on a strategic, tactical, and operational level. So a business level, a people level, whose feet is on the ground, and what is the tactical level. That's where you see all your operations. That's where you have your service model, your service flows. That's where you link all your projects to it. That's where you have all your notations where you can say, I need to change my operation. Compliance, cost model, service model. Suddenly you link everything on it. A business model is nothing else than level 1 of an accountability model, which is actually an operating model, which will be the same thing. You have learned all this in school. It's not rocket science. It's been around for 15 years. But because there wasn't a need to really apply it, because the discipline was like, yes, but you know, it's easy what I do. No, today it's not easy what you do. If you compete head on head, you compete on your service, value, operating model, cost model, performance model. And you need to define how you do that. This is the short version. I gave you an introduction. Now you know how the IoT fits together with the Industry 4.0. Now you know how you need to go home and look at, I need to be good at the business modeling. I need to be good at the operating model. If you're a data scientist, go to artificial intelligence. If you're business executives, go where, if you're business executives, you need to learn the basic disciplines. So this is the short version I have for you. This presentation was for you. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Henrik. Hi, I'm Elena. I'm gonna be presenting all the speakers today. Thank you so much. We're gonna go for the Q&As now, as you said. So I really hope there are some questions on the stage. Come on. Anything that you know people...
I can ask some questions.
Yeah, or anything that you know people usually ask that
Yes.
maybe you haven't talked about.
So how many of you are software providers? How many of you are service providers? Good. I think services business will change radically. Because service business now is based on the hours you deliver, and that will change. That will change radically. The level of discipline you have in terms of knowing your aspects, the first movers, I've been in discussion at the World Economic Forum with McKinsey and Deloitte, and they're changing. They want to change radically the service business. Right now, you resell regurgitated content. This is service business, and you add value. The software business will change radically as well. I predicted at the World Economic Forum 3 months ago that ERP will be obsolete by 2025. You say, wow, ERP is the core element for all organizations. When I was young, I did SAP's ERP implementation method. My name is even on it. So the code of cracking ERP is already there. Just nobody wants to do it. If 80% of a company is non-core and 70% is industry specific, that's 95% you know everything about. To have a financial process is not rocket science. To have oil and gas upstream and downstream, process level, procurement level, service level, maintenance level, documents level, everything is already there. Everything reinvents the same thing. This could be a plug and play with artificial intelligence. Because you know the KPIs, you know the service flows, you can define the service flows, you know the process levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can define the maturity level, you can define the level of integration, and you can already do this, most of these aspects. But why is it we are not doing it? Because of services. Because it takes manpower to do. So I think this will change in a heartbeat.
Hi, Eric, thank you. What do you think the biggest factors are in large companies preventing a move to this?
So large companies are moving at this pace very, very fast. And they're not moving at this pace because some of the Fortune 500 are moving out of because they need to reinvent themselves. And this is a difficult thing because when you are when you're actually in this life cycle, here you have to have a reinvention. And when you look at Nokia, they didn't take over the phone world. They had the chance to do so. Companies are exactly the same as family offices. They have 2, 3 generations, so life cycles, and they're unable to reinvent themselves because they're fat and hungry. The ability to reinvent yourself has to be the balance between innovation and transformation. So when you look at big companies like Netflix is at the frontier, but they're also using a lot of times. Facebook is at the frontier. Apple is at the frontier. But I'm like, they call me in, Apple, and ask me, how can we kickstart our innovation? What is the core differentiation aspect of Apple? Most people, if I would ask here, what is the core differentiating aspect of Apple, will say marketing, the product, and innovation. And it's not. The core differentiating aspect of Apple is the supply chain. When they come with a product, you deliver the product. Samsung has been trying to crack that nut for a long, long time. And they're unable to deliver a product and give the slipstream and saying, if they have a phone, I can get it. I don't need to wait. This is the key element. So the big companies are moving, but the niche players are actually the small ones. So I'm not a fintech guy. I'm not in the trading business. But the last 8 years, I've been investing in artificial intelligence and trading. How come? Because the borders in the industry 4.0s are eroded. UBS, Credit Suisse, Barclays, all of them are trying to do trading, robot trading, and so on, but they're not technical guys. They're not data guys. They don't understand patterns. They don't understand. For us to understand trading is easier when we have the core to move from A to B. So the opportunity for you to move within one industry with one competence to another one is huge. But it requires that you see the opportunity and then move from one industry to the other industry. I have an investment firm. We have 30 billion under administration. I'm not an investment guy. But when I was going around to all the countries and saw Accenture, Goldman Sachs, and all the big ones picking up the money and just presenting old wine on new bottles, I'm like saying, what? This is like, we're doing this, but we're going back to the old stuff? This is like, this cannot be true. So I said, okay, we can do that better. I'm sure we can do that better. And I just hired the right guys to do it. Today, it's not rocket science that you can reinvent an industry when you have the right thinking around it. So what we did for our investment were 2 major differences. two major differences. One, we don't invest in companies, we only invest in license models, high profit margins. Secondly, we're the only ones who said in the industry saying, you know what, normally you invest and they invest like 20 million, and then I make first my money, and then depending on how much I make, then I pay the investors. I mean, if that would be my money, I would be mad. So we turn it around and say, you know what, we are sure we can make money, so we pay you first a clip level, and then we pay ourselves. For any investor, it makes totally sense saying, you know what, I'm sure you will make money, but I want mine first. What I need in my portfolio is a consistency that I get every year my 9, 10, 12% back. I don't want to have fluctuation around 6, 18. I want to have a consistency in it. So if you can see a need in the market, you can move from industry to industry. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Henrik.